Hello everyone, we are joined by Mr. Arnold Bagabaldo, the CEO and founder of Packetworx. Thank you, sir, for doing this interview with Bilyonaryo.
You're welcome, and my pleasure.
Sir, were you always interested in tech?
Yes, ever since high school, I've always been in tech. My undergraduate and graduate degree is in business, but even so, I've always been interested in technology. Always done my own business, since I was, in high school. So I've gotten into the networking industry back in the early 90s to telecommunications. I was a telecoms provider in US back in the late 90s and early 2000s. If you're in the US and you're calling Philippines, about 30+% of your calls are going through my circuits. And lately, when I moved back to the Philippines, I've gotten into the BPO industry. From my point of view, it's not a human resource industry. It's more like I'm more interested in the tech side of things. How to make calls from US and other countries ring on your phones here in the Philippines. And then after that, I put up Packetworx.
And what made you jump into the world of Internet of Things?
As I said in our magazine and other stuff when I give talks about IoT, in our lifetimes, there are enabling technologies that allow us to develop other technologies and to make our lives easier and more productive. A long time ago, it was the wheel. The wheel made us advanced. It allowed us transportation, for example, efficient transportation. And then after that, we have electricity. Electricity has changed our lives. Imagine not having lights at night, or operating your TV and all of this electronic equipment. Same as with the internet. Internet has changed our lives dramatically. We can't afford living right now without internet. IoT is the same thing. It's basically the next evolution of the internet as we know it. Internet is all about connecting people to each other and to information. IoT is Internet of Things, expands that to connecting everything else. Your power meter, your environmental sensor, your weather station, your water meter, security sensors in your house. All of these things are considered Internet of Things. Connecting everything else to the internet.
Sir, in the context of the Philippines, what are the challenges of IoT here?
The same with all technology-related endeavors in industry. The challenge is because it's always changing. There's always something new. The challenge is always awareness. What is IoT? How can it benefit myself and my business?
So if it's awareness, what are the kind of activities or promotional works that the industry should do?
Packetworx in particular is a social enterprise. Our main mission is to accelerate adoption of IoT in the Philippines because we believe that it can benefit the Filipino people. The mission of accelerating IoT means that we need to engage the whole ecosystem. This means, what is an ecosystem? It's not just a business, right? We don't just sell equipment and the technology. We also engage the academe. So we give free hardware development kits to universities and students. We work with the local government units. We provide free sensors. Not a lot, but enough for it to be useful and for the local governments to be aware and familiar with how IoT can help their individual constituents. So we do provide free devices to local government units as well. And lastly, we provide free connectivity. For non-commercial use, we provide free connectivity for IoT devices, so that the data from your devices can be sent to the internet at no cost.
Sir Arnold, are there any notable success stories or real-life examples of how IoT solutions have positively impacted business or communities in the Philippines, apart from that, that you're giving this free IoT packages?
Yes, we're working with various research companies in terms of how IoT can help their research. For example, Varaco, Veraco is a company that is being that was granted research funding from USDA, I think, and we're helping them by providing them instruments to collect data from farms, coffee farms, so that way they can increase efficiency and production of coffee in the Philippines. We've done monitoring of banks, branches of banks, to monitor the number of people going in and out of banks. We've also monitored temperature, humidity inside BPO call centers, banks, and other offices to improve efficiency of their air conditioning units, ACUs. One notable BPO has saved close to or around 10% of their energy cost just by employing temperature humidity sensors, so that they are aware of the environmental conditions inside the BPO offices. So aside from that, I think a lot of the utility companies are starting to get into smart metering, meaning instead of the meter readers going to various meters, manually reading the meters. You've seen people go to your house and at your backyard and read the water meters there. Well, the utility companies are starting to implement smart water meters, wherein the water meters themselves are the ones that send data to the internet, so that they don't have to send people to the meters anymore. So with this, it brought about a lot of increased awareness on how IoT and remote sensing can help their businesses become more efficient.
But for example, if I'm an individual who doesn't have any idea about IoT, where do we get updates about IoT?
One of the goals of, again, Packetworx is to accelerate adoption of IoT, and to do that, aside from engagement with schools in terms of giving talks about IoT and providing them hardware development kits, free hardware development kits, so they can experiment and have a hands-on experience on how IoT can help their endeavors. We were publishing a newsletter in a magazine. Actually, we published the first newsletter that we have. We call it the Packet, and it gives you news about IoT and what's happening around us in terms of IoT technology. But at the same time, we have this magazine called Internet of Everything. We're trying to publish it like twice a year, but the first issue will be released this June 26 to 28 at our event in World Trade Center. So you can get a copy of that there, or you can download a PDF version of that from the internet.
So going back to Packetworx, a
Sure.
very promising startup, and I believe that masyado pang bata yung workforce po, tama po ba? And you're also helping students do their thesis. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, over the past 4 or 5 years, we've graduated 400 plus interns. So our internship is very unique in a way. So normally students go through 360 hours or more of time in terms of hours in internship. So instead of having them follow executives, do coffee for them, attend meetings and all of these things, what we do is on the first half of their internship, we give them practical experience on how our IoT is being used in enterprises. So they touch hardware, they build their own devices, and so on and so forth. And then on the second half, what we do is we pair them up with enterprises, our partner enterprises. So on that second half, the enterprise, no cost to the enterprise. They give, of course, a background of what they do, what their business is all about, what issues they're having in their enterprise in terms of operational efficiency. And then the students, together with Packetworx, we try to pick one of those problems and solve it for the enterprise using IoT. So the enterprise becomes the subject matter expert. They become the business consultant or the business advisor, and Packetworx becomes the technical advisor in terms of how they can solve the problems of the enterprise. So this way, we enable future generations of engineers to familiarize themselves on IoT technology and how they can use that to, in the end, when they go to the workforce, on how they can use that to help the enterprise that they're serving.
In terms of market growth, ano po yung nakikita po ninyo sa IoT industry?
IoT in the Philippines is still developing, unfortunately. But I see tremendous growth starting after the pandemic. I think the pandemic brought about awareness on the importance of remote sensing and remote control, which is what IoT is all about. The enterprises didn't have resources or are afraid to invest in these new technologies because we don't know how long the pandemic would be. When things eased up, we see a lot of enterprises coming to us asking about how they can implement IoT in their own enterprises. So to directly answer your question, it's still nascent in the Philippines, but it's hopefully through the engagement of the different stakeholders, the government, the academia, the enterprises, we can increase awareness on how IoT can be used in enterprises and government and cities, and accelerate, again, the growth of IoT in the country.
Artificial intelligence, AI, is all the rage right now. So
Yes.
how does it apply to IoT?
Yes. AI is all about, artificial intelligence is all about processing information and coming out with useful results from it, right? So all of this AI, analytics and AI need information to work, right? And right now, all of this information is being derived from what we contribute to the internet. All of the information that AI is mostly utilizing is coming from the internet. But what happens after that? There's a wealth of additional information that are available physically. For example, your power meter, reading is not on the internet yet. Your temperature inside your house is not on the internet yet. How you use your car is not on the internet yet. So IoT is about bridging this physical source of information to the digital environment. So that way AI can utilize this data. So in a way, how is IoT related to AI? IoT is fueling, or driving AI. So that way it'll have information to process. So that way it can help ourselves and our environment in terms of increasing our efficiency and productivity. So I would say that IoT is an integral part of how AI functions.
Cool. So if, for example, an enterprise sets an appointment with your company, what are the first steps on how to execute the IoT solutions for their businesses?
Sure. I think a lot of people misunderstand technology. They think that technology is like a magic pill that can solve all of their problems, but it's not. It's just a tool. As a tool, you need to know how to properly utilize it. The first step that we do with any enterprise is to understand their pain points. Because at the end of the day, IoT is all about increasing their efficiency, helping them solve their problems using automation, right? So the first step in terms of solving and helping them is understanding their problem. It's not about technology, it's about understanding what the clients need, right? And then what we can do is we can work with our partner and our engineers in terms of finding that technology, and mostly it's going to be IoT, that will address their particular pain point or problem. So that's the first step.
Yeah. And in relation to that, you're spearheading the Internet of Things conference, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that event?
Yeah, so to accelerate adoption of IoT in the country, and as I mentioned earlier, awareness is one of the challenges in any, in IoT and in any technology-related endeavor in general. We're spearheading a conference, so we're doing this first ever conference, local conference about IoT in the Philippines. It's called Internet of Things Conference 2023. It's going to be held in World Trade Center this June 26th to 28th, morning till evening. So it's a 3-day event. The first day would be focusing on agriculture and smart cities. The second day would be focusing on enterprises, right? The third day is all about the academe and the community. We'll have like a hackathon, packet hacks that would showcase, what our young engineers are creating to solve using IoT to solve enterprise problems. And our hope is to have this event as a venue for everybody in the ecosystem, to exchange ideas, inform each other on what we're doing here in the Philippines in terms of IoT. This is not a conference about what other countries are doing in terms of IoT. It's about what we are doing here in the Philippines with IoT.
Why do you think that there should be a dedicated event for IoT here in the Philippines?
IoT, just the same as the internet, is pervasive, and it has the potential to change our lives. In fact, I often say this, in Brazil, the Brazilian government engaged McKinsey to do a study on what things they can do to increase their their global competitiveness. And the result of that research, is McKinsey reporting to them that IoT has the potential to increase their GDP by 200 billion a year, and that represents about 10% of Brazil's GDP. That's 10% of a country's GDP is nothing to, it's huge, right? And this doesn't mean that, and this 10% can be achieved without really creating any new product. It's just increasing your efficiency and productivity. And if Brazil can, if that can be applied to Brazil, let's ride on that research and apply it in the Philippines. So we don't need to pay McKinsey to tell us that we can benefit from IoT here in the Philippines as well. We can use that, we can leverage that research and apply IoT in the Philippines.
In that event, you also invited a telco company. Could you tell us why connectivity is important and what are the role of telco companies in IoT?
Yes. No single technology can address all use cases. Different technologies have different applications. For example, telcos are very strong in terms of broadband because they serve the people, right? I mean, when you get bandwidth from like Converge or PLDT, you know what you're buying and you know what you're going to use it for, right? But if, for example, you need connectivity for your water meter, that couldn't be plugged to an electrical outlet and will need a battery that will last like 15, 16 years. You cannot use like, GSM, LTE, 5G to connect that water meter. You cannot use Wi-Fi to connect that water meter. You need a different technology to connect that water meter, and we call that LP1, low power wide area network. And that's, LP1 is part and partial to the advancement of IoT, because, IoT is, to apply IoT, it needs to be wireless, it needs to be low power, it needs to last for a long time, and if you don't have that, it's, IoT is very difficult to implement. So LP1 and in fact LoRaWAN, which is the technology that we're employing, is critical to the success and deployment of IoT in the Philippines. And we work together with the telcos in terms of addressing these IoT use cases in the country.
Are there any notable speakers or experts in the field of IoT who will be presenting at the conference?
Yes, DICT with the USEC Giselle will be attending and will be giving a talk about IoT and how it affects our country. Speakers from different enterprises like MServe, for example, CBRE, all of these, Manila Water, speaker from Manila Water will be coming, talking about how they're using IoT, providing smart water meter services to both enterprise and residential customers. So all of these things will be coming in and contributing to how we're using IoT in the country.
And sir, how do we join the conference? Is this exclusive to enterprises?
As a social enterprise, again, our mission is to accelerate adoption of IoT in the country. So, having more people attend and know about how IoT can help their various industries and various endeavors is enough for us. I'd like to invite everybody to attend the conference this June 26 to 28. It's free to everybody. It will be well attended by representatives from the government, the academe, and also enterprises. We have a lot of notable speakers there giving talks about IoT. DICT with USEC Giselle will be talking about the use of IoT and then how IoT is helping the country. We'll have speakers from the likes of MServe, CBRE, Manila Water, to talk about how IoT is helping their enterprises become more efficient and cost-effective.
On that note, sir, thank you for doing this interview with Bilyonaryo. That's Mr. Arnold Bagabaldo, founder and CEO of Packetworx.